Imagine a city where the church spires pierce the gray sky like spears, where the streets are so narrow neighbors can shake hands from their bedroom windows. This is York in the 1500s, a world steeped in power, rebellion, and the unrelenting stench of a society struggling against its own filth. Here, a king's decree in far-off London could turn a bustling city into a scene of horror, with bodies swinging from tower walls, a testament to authority's wrath. To grasp the essence of life in this tumultuous era, one must step beyond the romanticized tales of Old England and immerse themselves in the mud that defines this gritty reality. For in this age, the magnificence of the Minster pales in comparison to the olfactory assault of the cobbled streets, where every breath is tangled with the city's chaotic pulse. York, the capital of the North, thrived as the second most significant city in the kingdom. Yet, its majesty was shadowed by the ancient Roman and Viking walls that confined a population packed tighter than a modern university campus, a density hard to fathom in today's world. The streets, known as Snickelways, were less thoroughfares and more open sewers, an affront to sanitation. Without underground plumbing, open gutters snaked along the cobblestones, breeding a smog of odors so foul that city officials had to petition Parliament for a paving solution as carts sank into the muck. Each step through York was a dance with danger, a reminder of the grim realities of medieval life. The architecture of York mirrored its chaotic existence. Timber-framed houses, jettied and precarious, leaned towards each other, their upper stories extending over the narrow streets below. This design was not merely aesthetic, it was a cunning escape from taxation and a desperate measure to maximize limited space. The streets became darkened, tunnels where sunlight struggled to penetrate the gloom. In the butcher's quarter, known as the Shambles, the houses leaned so closely that they appeared to envelop one another, creating a frenzied environment. Here, the very air hung thick with the scent of raw meat as butchers displayed their wares on open shelves. The slaughtering of animals occurred right before the eyes of shoppers, with blood and offal sliding down slanted floors into the streets, eagerly devoured by the roaming pigs, the unofficial sanitation workers of this frenzied society. Despite the squalor, York thrived on a complex network of community and faith. The river wound through the city like a lifeblood, bustling with trade, transporting wool, wine, and spices that were the foundation of its economy. The bridge, an engineering marvel, was a microcosm of life itself, a floating town bustling with commerce. It boasted shops, a council chamber, a prison, and a chapel, all precariously balanced on the stone arches. Life here was unrelenting, the air filled with sounds of laughter, shouting, and clattering carts, leaving no room for privacy. Every whisper of gossip permeated thin walls, and every citizen was intimately acquainted with their neighbors' fortunes, failures, and fears. At the heart of York's existence stood the church, a bastion of faith in a city with over 40 parish churches, each bell tolling for the hours, marking the sacred and the mundane. The devotion that bound the citizens together was a double-edged sword, providing solace in times of need, but also laying a foundation for impending chaos. In the 1530s, this unwavering loyalty would fuel one of the most violent rebellions in the city's history, the Pilgrimage of Grace. It was a turning point, a cataclysm that would redefine York's identity forever. The looming specter of change cast a long shadow over York. The city was not just a tapestry of churches, but a powerful ecclesiastical stronghold, its wealth anchored in the Catholic institutions that dominated the skyline. St. Mary's Abbey, the richest monastery in northern England, pulsed with life, employing thousands and providing for the poor. But when Henry VIII severed ties with Rome and initiated the dissolution of monasteries, he targeted more than just a faith. He threatened the very fabric of York's economy and society. The repercussions were immediate and devastating. When Robert Aske, a local lawyer, rallied people in October 1536, he wasn't leading a rabble of angry peasants. He commanded a disciplined force of 30,000 lords, knights, and commoners alike, marching under the banner of the 5 wounds of Christ. They didn't have to lay siege. They were welcomed with open arms into the city, which now embraced a fleeting taste of independence from the Tudor crown. For a brief moment, York stood resolute as a Catholic bastion, a symbol of defiance against the king. Yet this fleeting moment of hope was soon crushed under the weight of retribution. Henry VIII, playing a sinister game, lured the rebellion into a false sense of security with promises of pardons, and a parliament convened in York. As the rebels dispersed, the king's iron fist fell mercilessly, shattering the spirit of the city. Robert Aske, once celebrated as a hero, was dragged back in chains, a chilling reminder of the consequences of defiance. On a blistering July day in 1537, he met a brutal fate at Clifford's Tower, his execution a slow agony, meant to instill fear in the hearts of every citizen who dared to watch. The aftermath was catastrophic. With Aske's execution, the air of York thickened with dread. The king's wrath didn't just stop at public hangings. He methodically dismantled the very structures that held the community together. St. Mary's Abbey, once a beacon of hope and charity, was stripped for resources, its stones repurposed for new government buildings, its wealth appropriated, and its monks cast onto the unforgiving streets. The lifeblood of the city drained away, leaving behind a hollow shell of its former self, a stark reality that ushered in vagrancy and despair. As the once vibrant streets transformed, the spirit of York shifted from one of communal celebration to a somber murmur of bureaucracy. The vibrant processions of medieval mystery plays faded away, suppressed under the rule of the Council of the North, who reimagined York as a stern administrative hub. The din of bells and the joyous chants of monks were replaced by the sterile sounds of law and order, silencing the city's heart. The raucous, festive atmosphere morphed into a landscape of secrets and surveillance, with life increasingly dictated by the power of the state. By the close of the century, under Elizabeth I's reign, York had metamorphosed from an open religious carnival into a labyrinth of secrets and spies. The Council of the North had reshaped it into a smaller version of London, a bastion of Protestantism, masking the Catholicism that still lingered underground. The fervent faith that once thrived publicly had become clandestine, forcing those who practiced it to embrace a life of shadow and subterfuge. Among the stories born from this perilous time is that of Margaret Clitheroe, known as the Pearl of York. A butcher's wife, she lived on the shambles and secretly harbored Catholic priests in a hidden chamber in her attic. In 1586, her clandestine life unraveled. She was arrested, but her execution would not be a swift one. Refusing to plead, determined to shield her children from implication, she faced a gruesome fate that would etch her name into the annals of York's dark history. A martyr for a faith forced into the shadows. York's transformation was complete. The ringing of joyous bells was replaced by the quiet rustle of secrets. The city had not only survived, but evolved under the weight of its tumultuous past. Now, with the appearance of stability, it masked the simmering tension beneath. Centuries of history, of rebellion and repression, shaped its identity. leaving behind echoes of resilience and a lingering specter of the unyielding spirit of its people. As we reflect on this tumultuous chapter in York's history, consider the sacrifices made and the stories untold. The struggles of those who lived in the shadows resonate through time, urging us to remember the price of faith and freedom. Join the conversation, share this story, and let the legacy of York's past ignite a new understanding of resilience and hope in our modern world.